This is not a coincidence. You didn't stumble on this word by accident. The very moment your spirit hit play, heaven had already begun to respond. Something sacred has been initiated. Divine scrolls have been unsealed, and a heavenly announcement has just been dispatched with your name written into the message. There are moments in life that feel weightier than others, where the air shifts, where time feels suspended, where your soul senses that eternity just touched the earth. This is one of those moments. You're not just listening to a message, you are standing in the middle of one. Heaven is speaking, and God is not sending noise. He's sending clarity, direction, and confirmation. This word is a spiritual signal for your next season. It's an activation alert, and it found you because your spirit has been postured to receive it, even if your mind hasn't fully caught up yet. You've felt the restlessness, that stirring. It's not confusion, it's transition. It's the Spirit of God moving over the deep places of your life, preparing to call forth what's been hidden, dormant, or delayed. You've been faithful in quiet places, obedient in secret seasons, and now the veil is lifting. What heaven promised is about to be revealed. God has seen the posture of your heart when no one else was looking. He has watched your worship when you felt weary. That obedience wasn't overlooked. It was recorded, remembered, and now it's being rewarded. Daniel once prayed and fasted for understanding, and the heavens moved in response. Daniel 10 verse 12 to 14 shows us that even when answers seem delayed, they're not denied. His prayers were heard the moment he spoke them, and angelic hosts were dispatched on his behalf. Just like Daniel, your faith has initiated angelic movement. You may not see it with your eyes yet, but heaven's infrastructure is shifting because of what you've sown in prayer. You're not waiting alone. Hebrews 1 verse 14 reminds us that angels are ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation. That includes you. God doesn't just send information, He sends revelation. And when He speaks, it never returns empty. Isaiah 55 verse 11 declares that His word always accomplishes what He desires and achieves the purpose for which it is sent. That means this moment isn't just inspiring, it's instructive, it's strategic. There's something specific heaven wants you to grasp. This isn't just about encouragement, it's about alignment. Many people miss divine moments because they're waiting for fireworks, but God often moves in whispers. You've been trained in quietness, shaped in solitude, and strengthened in silence for a reason. That delay you felt wasn't denial, it was preparation. You were never being held back. You were being positioned. The divine memo has finally arrived, and it comes with new instructions. Right now, the atmosphere around you is pregnant with spiritual potential. The delay is breaking. The fog is lifting. You're not behind, you're right on time. This is your season of unlocking. The enemy tried to wear you down with confusion and distraction, but God is delivering clarity and fire. There is fresh oil coming upon your life. What's ahead of you doesn't require striving, just obedience. All you have to do is receive what has already been written. Let this be your wake-up call, your confirmation, your divine signal. Heaven is not whispering to the unready. The scroll is open. The message has been released. Now is the time to rise and move. Before we dive deeper, take a moment to subscribe if you haven't already. It helps more than you know. Now let's keep moving. You see, the ache of silence can sometimes feel louder than noise. But that quiet you walked through wasn't abandonment, it was divine discipline. The hush in your spirit wasn't punishment, it was preparation. And now the silence has cracked open. God is not whispering anymore. He's speaking with clarity, authority, and intention, calling your name like thunder over deep waters. You've arrived at a prophetic moment where the volume of heaven is rising because your ears have finally been trained to hear Him. You see, God never wastes silence. When Elijah stood in the cave, discouraged and desperate, the wind, the earthquake, and the fire came, but God was not in them. Then came a still small voice. 1 Kings 19, verse 11 to 12. That whisper was the pivot point. Why? Because God often speaks in whispers before he roars. And if you learn to lean in when it's quiet, you'll be ready when he speaks loudly. You've been leaning in. You didn't quit. You stayed when others walked. And now the same God who whispered in the stillness is thundering your name with divine commissioning. This is not just another word. This is an invitation to move. What felt like delay was really divine strategy. What you called a setback was a setup for an unstoppable shift. When God holds his voice back, it's not because he's far, it's because he's working. Think of Amos 3 verse 7, which says that the Lord does nothing without revealing his plans to his servants. And now he's revealing. He's unfolding. What he hid in mystery, he is now releasing with clarity. You've graduated from echo to encounter. You're not being comforted anymore, you're being commissioned. You were never meant to live in the cave of waiting. You were meant to pass through it. The confusion that once clouded your heart will now become clarity that fuels your mission. God is not just giving you encouragement, he's handing you marching orders. And they come wrapped in his voice. The reason you feel the shift is because heaven has already made the announcement. It's reaching your soul like a vibration in your bones. You don't just hear it, you feel it. Jesus said in John 10 verse 27, "My sheep hear my voice. I know them and they follow me." You are hearing him now not because he just started speaking, but because your spirit is finally still enough to receive it. The noise of doubt, fear, and delay has been cleared. Your discernment has caught up with your destiny. Let me speak this boldly to your spirit. You are not late. You are not behind. You have not missed your moment. Everything you've walked through was part of divine alignment. Heaven waited for this day. The scroll was sealed until your name was called. And now, it's open. The message has been released. The fog of confusion is breaking because God is shifting from hiddenness to revelation. This is a season of spiritual volume. What once required straining to hear, you'll now receive in clarity. God is not just informing you, he is forming you. Each instruction released in this hour is laced with purpose. Each word you receive is an assignment wrapped in grace. And those instructions carry weight because they will require obedience, boldness, and surrender. Don't mistake this intensity as pressure. See it as promotion. You've been trained to move when the whisper came. Now you're trusted to run when the shout is heard. God is not raising up passive followers in this season. He's raising bold messengers. You've been called from the background to the battleground, from waiting in the cave to walking in the call. This is not about how loud the message sounds. It's about how ready your spirit is to move when it arrives. God's voice has increased because your obedience has matured. The same voice that held you in quiet will now launch you in power. What was once hidden is now revealed. What you questioned in pain, God will confirm in purpose. Beloved, not all silence is abandonment. Some silence is sacred. When God draws the curtain over your life and closes the doors that once swung wide open, it's not rejection, it's preservation. There is a difference between being overlooked by man and being hidden by God. The world may not have seen you, but heaven always did. And now what was kept in obscurity is rising into visibility, not because you pushed, but because you were prepared. God hides what he deems holy. Isaiah 49 verse 2 declares, "He made me into a polished arrow and concealed me in his quiver." That isn't the language of abandonment, it's the vocabulary of purpose. You were being sharpened in silence. You were being anointed in isolation. There were moments you cried out and heard nothing, but that silence was not neglect. It was divine insulation. God didn't hide you to harm you. He hid you to heal you. He covered you to cultivate the call within you that could not survive in the noise of exposure. Some of your greatest prayers were answered with hiddenness. You asked for growth, so he gave you quiet. You asked for anointing, so he gave you solitude. You asked for strength, so he removed the applause. That cave you were in wasn't confinement, it was consecration. Colossians 3 verse 3 reminds us that your life is hidden with Christ in God. Hidden, not forgotten. Protected, not rejected. God doesn't lose track of what he hides. He watches over it more closely. When God chooses to develop you away from the spotlight, it's not because you're unworthy of it. It's because the weight of your next assignment requires a foundation that only silence can build. You don't train on stages, you train in secret. You don't grow under the spotlight, you grow under pressure. That tension you felt, that stretching in the hidden place, it wasn't wasted. It was worship. Heaven has been shaping you with every unseen surrender. Consider John the Baptist. Luke 1 verse 80 says, "He lived in the wilderness until he appeared publicly to Israel." John's anointing was too weighty to be formed in public, so God placed him where the noise couldn't distort the message. And when the time came, nothing could stop his voice from preparing the way. The same is true for you. Your wilderness didn't cancel your calling, it clarified it. You were being trained to hear God before anyone else heard you. You weren't waiting in vain. You were being prepared for visibility with heavenly substance. Some places you once fit can no longer contain you, and that's a sign, not a setback. You've outgrown the limitations that once defined you, and now the lid is coming off. The container is breaking. The cave is opening. Because the message heaven is releasing now confirms what your spirit already sensed you're being revealed. This unveiling isn't about performance, it's about posture. God reveals what he has refined. And you've been through the fire. You've surrendered through the silence. You've learned the language of the secret place. That's why you carry authority. It wasn't handed to you by man, it was birthed in intimacy with God. No one saw the breaking, but everyone will see the rising. Because when heaven hides you, it also marks you. Don't mistake their ignorance of you as heaven's absence from you. Heaven saw every tear you didn't post about. Heaven recorded every fast, every quiet yes, every whispered prayer you prayed when no one was watching. That's what qualified you. Obscurity doesn't disqualify, it proves loyalty. You served when no one said thank you. You worshipped when you felt empty. You gave when you had little. You chose faithfulness over fame. That's the fruit of hiddenness. And now God is saying, you're ready. You weren't buried, you were planted. And the roots you formed in the dark are about to support fruit that will bless others in the light. The silence didn't break you, it built you. The hidden season didn't discredit you, it defined you. You didn't miss your moment. You were being made for it. And now the whispers of destiny have shifted into a roar. When God begins to move, he never does it in fragments. He unveils fullness. And now what once looked like a small beginning is starting to reveal its true scale. You thought it was a spark, but heaven sees a wildfire. You thought it was a door, but God is revealing a hallway lined with promised favor and divine expansion. Some visions are too big to be seen all at once, so God shows them to us in stages. But make no mistake, the small glimpse you received was never the whole story. It was the seed, not the harvest. It was the echo, not the full sound. Isaiah 54 verse 2-3 commands us to enlarge the place of your tent. Stretch your tent, curtains wide, do not hold back. Lengthen your cords, strengthen your stakes. That's not just poetic language, it's prophetic strategy. Heaven is telling you to get ready for more than you planned for. The ground beneath your calling is expanding. Discouragement tried to shrink your vision because the enemy knew what would happen if you saw the full picture. He wanted you to think you were just surviving when God was calling you to establish legacy. That heaviness you felt wasn't failure. It was the weight of something greater trying to be born. You weren't just meant to start something, you were meant to multiply it. And now the spiritual soil is breaking open to reveal what's been hidden beneath the surface. God is not simply increasing your provision, He's enlarging your capacity. You've been faithful over the few, but now you're being trusted with the much. This is Ephesians 3, verse 20 in action. Now to Him who is able to do immeasurably more than all we ask or imagine, according to His power that is at work within us. You imagined survival. God envisioned influence. You saw enough for today. Heaven prepared overflow for generations. This vision was never just about you. It always included others, those connected to your obedience, those watching your walk, those waiting for your yes to unlock their freedom. The calling on your life has generational consequences. You're not just stepping into a bigger opportunity, you're stepping into a wider impact. Your yes is unlocking the gates for people you haven't even met yet. Legacy is not something you stumble into, it's something you're positioned for through alignment. The reason the journey has felt weighty is because the promise is weighty. The dream felt delayed because God was growing your spiritual spine to carry it. You've outgrown limitation, and now your prayer life is shifting. Your language is shifting, your posture is shifting, because the vision is shifting. Habakkuk 1 verse 5 declares, "I am going to do something in your days that you would not believe even if you were told." That's not exaggeration. That's the kind of wonder God operates in when we dare to trust Him beyond the visible. You were never meant to just taste the promise, you were meant to build with it. And building on this level requires vision that stretches, faith that flexes, obedience that refuses to settle. Don't reduce the size of your purpose to match your current comfort zone. The tent is expanding because the people who will gather in it are increasing. This is about kingdom scale, not your convenience. Some of the frustrations you've faced were never about personal failure. They were contractions before the expansion. Heaven has been enlarging your spirit before enlarging your platform. You weren't denied, you were being redesigned. You weren't forgotten, you were being fortified. Because when God releases something this significant, He ensures the vessel can carry it without breaking. So don't pray small prayers anymore. Don't think average thoughts. Don't plan as if you're going to barely get by. The vision is bigger than your comfort zone, bigger than your schedule, bigger than your imagination. You've walked through the door, yes, but now the hallway is opening. Rooms of influence you never dreamed of. Conversations you never expected. Resources from sources you didn't see coming. This is not a coincidence. It's a commissioning. The seed has grown, the season has shifted, and the vision, it's about to stretch your faith until it matches God's promise. Welcome to the wide space. Heaven just expanded your territory. Friend, there's a reason the enemy worked so hard to bury your confidence. There's a reason the attacks often centered around your identity, your voice, your sense of worth. Because from the beginning, Heaven wrote your name into the story as a solution, not a side note. While you were second-guessing your place, God was setting the stage for your arrival. You were never meant to wonder if you belong. You were designed to take territory with authority. You are not heaven's backup plan. You're not God's contingency for someone else's failure. You are the ordained answer to a problem that still lingers in the earth. Long before your voice found strength, your spirit was assigned. Just like Jeremiah 1 verse 5 declares, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you before you were born, I set you apart. You were consecrated before you were confused. You were commissioned before you ever questioned your role." And now, in this moment, the veil is lifting. Heaven isn't asking you to strive for significance, it's calling you to stand in the truth of it. You don't have to prove yourself when you've already been appointed. You don't have to beg for a place when God has already built one around your gift. You are the revelation, not the replacement. You are the voice that was always meant to rise in this generation. You are the light, as Matthew 5 verse 14 reminds us. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. The enemy tried to convince you that visibility meant value. But God doesn't anoint people based on popularity. He anoints based on purpose. That hidden place you cried through was actually holy ground where God infused power into your spirit. You weren't overlooked. You were preserved. You weren't delayed. You were developed. You weren't forgotten. You were formed for something greater than applause. You're not called to echo culture. You're meant to shift it. You were never created to blend in. You were shaped to stand out. What you carry is too rare to be ignored. What flows from your spirit is needed now more than ever. Others may have dismissed you because they couldn't define you, but heaven never lost sight of your destiny. Esther 4 verse 14 puts it like this, "And who knows, but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this." The clock of heaven has now struck that very time. There are spaces that have waited silently for your yes. There are doors that would not open until your name was called. And now that name, the one God wrote into his blueprint, is being spoken with clarity across the heavens. You're not the afterthought. You're the activation. Heaven's agenda does not operate in accidents. It works through alignment. You may have thought your waiting season was wasted time, but it was sacred preparation. That long road built weight in your words. It forged power in your praise. It sharpened your discernment and solidified your endurance. And now all of it is needed. Not one part of your story will be wasted. Not one tear is being ignored. You were being sculpted into a solution the earth couldn't rush. The beauty of divine positioning is this: it cannot be stolen, sabotaged, or silenced. If God has called you, the spotlight of heaven will shine on you when the moment arrives. But hear me clearly, it's not about attention, it's about assignment. The places you're going weren't designed to celebrate you, they were built to receive what you carry. And what you carry has kingdom consequences. So take off the labels that others tried to place on you. Remove the residue of false humility that says, "Maybe I'm not ready." You are. That stirring inside you isn't anxiety. It's the awakening of divine momentum. God isn't hesitating. He's initiating. And now he's calling you to recognize what he's always known. You were never waiting to be chosen. You were born chosen. Not every storm was sent to destroy you. Some were sent to reveal you. That pressure, that battle, that season where everything seemed to come against you at once. It wasn't proof of your failure. It was confirmation that hell saw what you carried before you even fully understood it yourself. The warfare wasn't random. It was strategic, calculated, and targeted, because the enemy never wastes his arsenal on someone who poses no threat. You were fought hard because you carry something holy, something heavy, something dangerous to darkness. You've been mistaking the resistance for rejection. But let me make this clear. It was recognition. Hell recognized the weight of your anointing before you walked in it. The warfare was the echo of your calling. The more heaven advanced you, the more hell tried to arrest you. Not because you were off course, but because you were right on track. As Ephesians 6 verse 12 reminds us, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world." This fight wasn't in the natural, it was spiritual, and the battlefield wasn't always around you. Often it was within you. But you didn't break. You may have bent. You may have cried. You may have felt like giving up. But you didn't. And that endurance is more than emotional strength, it's spiritual evidence. 2 Corinthians 4 verse 8 to 9 says it like this: "We are hard pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed but not in despair, persecuted but not abandoned, struck down but not destroyed. That's not just a verse that's your story. That's the sound of someone who's been tested and trusted. The attacks didn't disqualify you, they revealed you. There's a misconception that favor feels easy, but heaven's assignment often comes wrapped in warfare. The very thing you thought disqualified you, the battle you didn't ask for, was the exact proof that God saw you fit to carry fire. Because God doesn't give his heaviest assignments to the most visible voices. He gives them to those who've been refined in the hidden places, those who've learned to stand when nothing made sense. Your survival is not just a testimony of resilience, it's a revelation of rank. You've been trusted with pressure because heaven knew what was in you before the fire touched you. Like gold in the furnace, the heat didn't devalue you, it proved your purity. That delay you experienced, it wasn't denial, it was spiritual resistance. Hell was trying to hold back a release that heaven already marked for delivery. And now you're stepping into the place the enemy tried to keep you from, because Romans 8 verse 37 declares, "In all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us." The scars you carry are sacred. They're not shameful. They are the marks of someone who has been through something real and still chooses to rise. They are the signs of authority. When you walk into rooms now, you don't just bring presence, you bring power. And the reason people are drawn to you isn't because of what's on the surface, but because of what you survived in secret. Your story is soaked in heaven's oil, and the fragrance of it causes chains to fall even when you don't say a word. God never promised ease, but he did promise victory. And victory doesn't mean the absence of war, it means triumph through it. You didn't come out the same person. You came out sharper, wiser, more focused, more dangerous to the darkness than ever before. That's what happens when pressure doesn't crush you, it clarifies you. You now know what you carry. You now know that your voice has authority. You now know that every weapon formed against you may have been fired, but it didn't prosper. Heaven allowed the resistance not to stop you, but to strengthen you. And what once looked like a grave is now the ground of resurrection. You were never fighting just for yourself. You were pushing through for every person connected to your obedience. What you carry is for others. What you carry is generational. What you carry shifts regions. That's why the enemy tried to exhaust you. Because if he could make you tired, he could try to make you silent. But your roar is rising, your clarity is coming back, and your feet are planted in the ground of victory. Let this be your reminder. The warfare was never the problem. It was the proof that you're chosen, the evidence that you're anointed, the signal that you've been trusted. Heaven knew the fight wouldn't break you, it would build you. Just because you couldn't see it didn't mean nothing was happening. Sometimes the greatest moves of God are made in silence, in shadows, in the slow unfolding of days that feel ordinary. But in the realm of the Spirit, there's no such thing as ordinary. There's only alignment. And while you were trying to stay faithful in what felt like delay, heaven was orchestrating divine precision. The truth is, God has been moving the entire time. Not loudly, not always visibly, but purposefully. While you were crying out for movement, God was constructing momentum. You may have thought things were stuck. You may have looked at your life and said, "Why hasn't it shifted yet?" But let me declare this to you with boldness. Movement doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. The word reminds us in Psalm 121 verse 3-4 that he who watches over you will neither slumber nor sleep. Even when your prayers felt like they were bouncing off the ceiling, God wasn't just listening, he was building. God's backstage work often looks like stillness to human eyes. But divine stillness isn't inactivity, it's intentionality, it's strategy. It's the weaving together of relationships, timing, open doors, and unseen protection. You weren't forgotten. You were being positioned. That closed door that broke your heart. It was never rejection. It was redirection. Heaven knows the full picture, and God saw where that opportunity would have taken you. He wasn't limiting you. He was saving you. If you could see what He kept you from, you'd be shouting with gratitude instead of sitting in frustration. Some relationships faded, not because something went wrong, but because something bigger was about to go right. God didn't let certain people go with you because they weren't built to carry the weight of what you're stepping into. He is faithful to remove what doesn't belong in your future, even if it came from your past. Isaiah 45 verse 2-3 declares, "I will go before you and level the mountains. I will break down gates of bronze and cut through bars of iron. I will give you hidden treasures, riches stored in secret places." That's not poetic imagery, it's prophetic reality. You are now entering the place where hidden things are revealed. What was locked away, concealed from your view, is about to come into full focus. You've been entrusted with a season of unveiling, but God had to build the stage before He brought you to the front of it. There's a reason it took longer than you thought. Legacy takes time. Impact requires deep foundations. And every time you felt like nothing was changing, God was strengthening the roots beneath your feet. He was securing your identity so that when the elevation came, you'd be anchored and not shaken. You weren't being delayed, you were being developed. Romans 8 verse 28 assures us that all things work together for the good of those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. Not some things, not just the beautiful moments, all things. Even the seasons that felt barren, even the silence that felt unbearable, even the connections that were severed, the opportunities that dissolved the prayers that didn't get answered the way you expected. All of it has been working not just for survival, but for significance. Now the shift begins, not because you forced it, but because the fullness of time has come. Heaven never rushes purpose, but when God moves, He moves swiftly and thoroughly. That restlessness in your spirit wasn't confusion, it was confirmation. Your spirit sensed what your eyes couldn't yet see. A divine unveiling was near. And now, as the curtain rises, you'll realize that everything you endured was preparation. Every silent night, every hidden tear, every closed door, and every delay was part of the choreography. Heaven's hand was never still, it was strategic. This moment is not the beginning of the work. It's the beginning of the revealing of the work. Get ready to walk through the doors that were being prepared while you were waiting. What was invisible is about to become undeniable. God didn't just move behind the scenes, He built the entire scene for such a time as this. Beloved, before a breakthrough walks through your door, God always sends a word to clear the path. Nothing from heaven arrives without announcement. Nothing divine emerges without declaration. When God speaks, He's not just informing you, He's constructing the road under your feet. Isaiah 55 verse 11 says it best. "So is my word that goes out from my mouth. It will not return to me empty, but will accomplish what I desire and achieve the purpose for which I sent it." That's not poetic comfort, it's prophetic guarantee. When heaven sends a message, it becomes the very framework for movement. Every true word from God is preparatory. It's not just sound, it's structure. It's not just revelation, it's activation. When God speaks something in the spirit realm, shifts before anything changes in the natural. The word you receive today is already laying down foundation in places your feet haven't even touched yet. That stirring you've been sensing, that inner restlessness that won't go away, that's because the word has already been released into your atmosphere. It's doing groundwork that your natural mind can't yet comprehend. Don't underestimate what's been echoing in your spirit lately. That whisper you've been trying to make sense of. That vision that keeps replaying in your heart. That random phrase you keep hearing in prayer. It's not random at all. Psalm 107 verse 20 reminds us, He sent out his word and healed them. He rescued them from the grave. He sends the word ahead of the move. The word is the wave. The word is the setup. And once heaven speaks, what once blocked you begins to break. God doesn't declare to entertain you. He declares to establish you. When he sends a word, it digs into the soil of your future and plants seed where harvest is coming. That's why it feels like things are shifting under your feet right now, because the message was never meant to sit still. It was designed to build something inside you and in front of you. It's not passive, it's preparatory. It's not optional, it's strategic. John 1 verse 1-3 reminds us that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Through him all things were made. When God releases a message, he's not just delivering information, he's releasing himself into your situation. That word is alive. That word is creating. That word is advancing. And when you align your voice with his voice, when you begin to declare what heaven has spoken, you accelerate what heaven is building. That's not hype, that's kingdom order. This is why discernment is critical in this hour. You must begin to recognize the difference between coincidence and confirmation. There's no such thing as random when God is moving. What seems small a dream, a phrase, a verse repeated 3 times in 1 week, may be heaven trying to thunder through your noise with divine clarity. This is not the season to overlook subtle signs. This is the season to lean in, listen, and move with purpose. When God sends a message, it's never just for inspiration, it's for instruction. Prophecy is not spiritual poetry. It's blueprint. It's construction language for what heaven is laying out in your life. And when you start speaking in agreement with what God has already released, you activate that blueprint. You empower the word to take root in your reality. That's why your agreement matters. Not because God needs permission, but because your faith builds the bridge between what's spoken and what's seen. Don't just admire the message, follow it. Let it disrupt your routine. Let it pull you into movement. When God says move, he's already made room. When he says build, he's already assigned the resources. When he says go, the word itself becomes your transportation. You're not walking blind, you're walking on the word. And not every revelation is meant to be repeated in every room. Some truths from heaven are too sacred to be laid before careless ears. Just because God has revealed something powerful doesn't mean everyone around you is ready to steward it with the same weight and reverence. In this hour, discernment is not a suggestion, it's a shield. It's the spiritual filter that guards what heaven has entrusted to you. We're living in a time when emotional excitement can masquerade as spiritual maturity. But real revelation demands more than enthusiasm. It requires wisdom. It's possible to be eager but unequipped, passionate but premature. That's why Proverbs 3 verse 21-23 urges us, "Do not let wisdom and understanding out of your sight. Then you will go on your way in safety, and your foot will not stumble." You're carrying something heaven-breathed, and if you want it to survive the process to manifestation, it must be surrounded by wisdom and covered in spiritual discernment. Your anointing is real. Your calling is weighty. But if you place something holy in an environment not equipped to handle it, you risk watching it get crushed by misunderstanding, doubt, or even jealousy. Not everyone can go where God is taking you. Not everyone is meant to know what God just whispered to you. And that's not secrecy, it's stewardship. Jesus himself modeled this. In Matthew 7 verse 6 he said, "Do not cast your pearls before swine, or they may trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces." That wasn't a statement of elitism, it was a warning about discernment. Some truths lose their weight when spoken too soon or to the wrong people. God isn't calling you to hide, he's calling you to guard. And that's a mark of spiritual maturity. There's a temptation, especially when the message is fresh and exciting, to announce it to the world. But revelation isn't always meant for display. It's often meant for development. God doesn't rush his word, he nurtures it, and he often gives you insight long before he gives you influence. The word may be for you now, but its fruit may not be visible to others until later. That's why discernment walks hand in hand with patience. Not only must you discern people, but you must also discern timing. The wrong timing with the right message can lead to confusion instead of clarity. You need ears that don't just hear. You need ears that perceive what heaven is actually saying in this moment. 1 Corinthians 2 verse 14 reminds us, "The person without the Spirit does not accept the things that come from the Spirit of God, but considers them foolishness." You can't expect carnal minds to carry spiritual mysteries. It's not their fault, they just haven't been tuned in by the Spirit. And it's not just about the people around you. It's also about your inner atmosphere. Your mental and emotional space must be aligned with heaven's rhythm. If anxiety, offense, or distraction dominate your inner life, they will distort what God is trying to clarify. This is why discernment isn't just about protecting the word, it's also about protecting your capacity to carry it. When your internal world is noisy, the voice of God gets muffled, but when your spirit is still, his direction becomes clear. Your circle matters more now than ever. Surround yourself with voices who sharpen your faith, not dull your discernment. The right people won't just celebrate the message, they'll confirm it in the Spirit. They won't compete with your calling, they'll call it out with humility and love. Heaven aligns people around assignments, not preferences. If someone's presence in your life distorts what God is saying, it's time to reconsider that connection. You must also prepare for the possibility that what God tells you will sound unreasonable to others, even to you. Noah built an ark under blue skies. Abraham walked up a mountain to sacrifice the promise he had waited decades for. Mary accepted a miracle that her culture would have labeled as scandal. Heaven's instructions rarely make sense before the provision appears. But when discernment is strong, obedience follows even in the face of risk. This is a season of sensitive shifts. You're not just receiving a word, you're being trusted with it. Handle it with honor. Guard it with discernment. Let wisdom be the lock that keeps the enemy out until the time is right. Heaven doesn't entrust messages to the careless. It gives revelation to the discerning. Keep your ears open, your spirit sharp, and your heart steady. You've heard from heaven now, carry it with conviction. And as you do, something begins to change, not just in what you carry, but in who you are. There comes a moment in your walk with God when the revelation is no longer just something you receive, it's something you become. That's the season you're stepping into now. You are no longer a passive listener in heaven's dialogue. You are the message embodied. You are the living scroll unfolding day by day, with every act of obedience, every word of truth, every step of faith. You were never meant to only repeat what God has said, you were created to reflect it. This is what Paul meant in 2 Corinthians 3 verse 2-3 when he wrote, "You yourselves are our letter written on our hearts, known and read by everyone." You show that you are a letter from Christ, written not with ink, but with the Spirit of the living God. That means you are not just holding a message, you are the message. Your life speaks before your lips do. Your presence declares what God has done before your testimony is ever shared. This is the weight of divine assignment. God's word doesn't hover in abstraction. It finds a vessel, and that vessel is you. You are heaven's carrier. Every time you choose righteousness in a culture that promotes compromise, you're preaching. Every time you show mercy in a world wired for revenge, you're releasing truth. You are not simply echoing what heaven declared, you are enacting it. Think of it this way. The Word became flesh in Jesus. John chapter 1 verse 14. And through him that living Word now moves in us. Hebrews 10 verse 16 confirms it. I will put my laws in their hearts, and I will write them on their minds. This is not just God speaking to you. This is God scripting his divine plan through you. You are heaven's pen in motion, writing deliverance into your family, hope, into your city, and legacy into generations. And don't think for a moment that your ordinary life disqualifies you. God has always used surrendered vessels over polished ones. Your transformation, your scars, your surrender, your stand are part of what validates the word moving through you. You're not just a vessel of truth, you're proof that truth transforms. You've walked through fire and didn't burn. You've endured pressure and didn't collapse. That's not coincidence. That's prophetic fulfillment in real time. Every word you now release in alignment with heaven carries impact beyond your sight. Romans 10 verse 15 declares, "How beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news." That verse isn't limited to preachers on platforms, it applies to you right where you stand. In your home, in your workplace, in the silence of your prayer closet, and the boldness of your public faith, you are carrying good news. Your steps are not random, they are anointed. Each move forward is a declaration that the word is alive and it walks. This is why the enemy tried so hard to mute you. He knew the moment you realized the message was in you, not just around you, you would become unstoppable. You're not just carrying revival, you are the revival. You are the temple. He chose the living sacrifice, the answer to someone's cry. That's not arrogance, it's alignment. You are who heaven sent for this moment. When God releases a message, he doesn't just broadcast, it births. The message becomes movement, and that movement is housed in yielded hearts like yours. That means every time you say yes to God, something eternal shifts. Every time you choose obedience, atmospheres change. You are not just positioned for purpose, you are the evidence of purpose fulfilled. So don't downplay what you've received. Don't shrink back from what you've become. This is not just about a moment of revelation, it's about a life of manifestation. You're not waiting on the message to move you. You're moving with the message. You're not a spectator in God's plan, you're his strategy in motion. You are the scroll that was once sealed, now opened. You are the prophecy that once sounded distant, now made flesh in your generation. You are the word in motion, the vessel made ready, the move of God made visible. Heaven's not just speaking anymore. Heaven is walking, and it looks like you. Some moments are louder than thunder, but only those tuned in hear them. Right now, there's a frequency resonating through the spirit, and the fact that you caught it means something profound. Heaven knows your name, and your spirit was ready to respond. This was not a broadcast to the crowd. It was a divine signal sent directly to your soul. Revelation 3 verse 20 reminds us, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock." You opened it, and now you can't stay where you were. There is no such thing as coincidence in the kingdom. Divine timing always meets divine receivers. The Spirit of truth leads not just the prepared, but also the willing, those whose hearts are set on hearing, even when their minds don't fully understand. John 16 verse 13 assures us that the Spirit will lead us into all truth. And sometimes that truth shows up not as explanation, but as invitation. You're not waiting for a roadmap anymore, you've been handed a mantle. This moment didn't come to inform you, it came to commission you. Isaiah 30 verse 21 declares, "Your ears will hear a word behind you saying, 'This is the way, walk in it.'" That's not poetry, that's prophecy in motion. You've been guided whether you recognized it or not. The delays, the shifts, the whispers in the night, they were all shaping you for this very moment. You didn't miss your moment. You've matured into it. And now the rhythm of your life is changing. Heaven has always moved in timing and tempo. Seasons shift not just through weather, but through word. The transmission has been sent, and your next steps aren't reaction, they're revelation. You won't just walk with purpose, you'll walk in sync. Your pace will match heaven's pulse. Your decisions will align with unseen orchestration. Your obedience will trigger a supernatural cadence. This is the sound of commissioning. Mantles are being placed, assignments are being activated, and your name is on the list. You weren't just chosen to hear this, you were called to embody it. Not everyone around you caught this word. That's not arrogance, it's alignment. Spiritual messages are delivered on a frequency only the hungry can hear. And you heard it because your spirit is awake. God isn't calling you to understand everything. He's calling you to move on what you heard. This isn't the time to overthink. It's time to overstep what once limited you. You're not walking away from this moment the same. You're moving with fresh instruction, fresh oil, and a heaven-breathed momentum that cannot be stopped. You are not walking into an ordinary season, you're stepping into divine rhythm. And this rhythm will carry you where hustle never could. You'll discern God's voice faster. You'll obey with greater courage. You'll notice heaven's patterns woven into earthly moments. Your life won't just echo what God said, you'll amplify it. This isn't just a message anymore, it's a mantle. And it fits you perfectly. Before we close this message, I want to invite you into a moment that matters. Not a ritual, not a routine, a real encounter. If your spirit has stirred while listening, if something in you knows heaven just spoke directly to your life, then don't leave this moment untouched. Join me now in a fervent, faith-filled prayer as we respond to what heaven has released. Heavenly Father, we come before you with hearts awakened and spirits trembling, not in fear, but in reverence. Thank you for the way you speak, not through chaos, not through confusion, but with clarity, power, and love. Thank you for finding us in this very moment. We didn't stumble here. You brought us. You reached through the noise of life and placed your word right into our hands. And now, God, we don't want to just hear it, we want to walk it. Walk. You are holy. You are wise. You are intentional in all things. We praise you for the way you weave divine timing into ordinary days, turning what seemed insignificant into something sacred. Lord, we acknowledge that without you, we are blind to the move of heaven. But with you, we see purpose even in the silence. We see direction even in the detours. Thank you for speaking so clearly today. Thank you for trusting us with something this weighty, this personal, this divine. God, we don't take lightly that you've chosen to send a word that awakens. We don't treat this moment like another passing thought. You've called us higher. You've stirred something deep. And so now we respond not with hesitation, but with surrender. We say, yes, Lord. Yes to your way. Yes to your voice. Yes to the path you've already cleared ahead of us. Where there was confusion, speak clarity. Where there was fear, release courage. Where there was delay, ignite movement. We want to walk in sync with the message you've released. We don't want to look back, we want to move forward with fire in our bones and faith in our steps. Lord, for every heart that has felt overlooked, overshadowed, or forgotten, I ask that you now breathe fresh assurance. Remind us that we have not been abandoned, we've been prepared. That we are not behind, we've been hidden for the right time. And now, as heaven unveils the next chapter, we choose to step out in boldness. Let our lives be the response you deserve. Let our obedience echo your glory. Teach us to steward what you've spoken. Teach us to protect the seed of this word. Help us not to rush ahead, but to walk wisely. Surround us with those who can confirm what you've said, not dilute it. And God, help us to be faithful, not just in hearing, but in becoming. We don't want to talk about the message, we want to be the message. For those who are tired, renew strength. For those who are waiting, release hope. For those who are battling, bring breakthrough. And for those who are listening for your whisper in the quiet, Remind them you are near, you are faithful, and you finish what you start. We bless you, Father, for entrusting us with heaven's memo. Now let it take root in our lives, change our steps, shift our decisions, and mark our days. We praise you for what's coming, for what's already moving in the Spirit, and for how you're aligning it all in perfect love. This moment is yours. We are yours. In Jesus' mighty name, Amen. If this message has stirred something deep within you, like heaven just spoke directly to your situation, I warmly invite you to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs a divine reminder that they haven't been forgotten. Thank you for being part of this faith-filled community. May God continue to reveal His plans for you and lead you boldly into your next chapter.